We're starting an Etsy shop from scratch and going to build it to $10,000 as fast as possible. But this isn't your typical Etsy shop. For this challenge, we're using AI and automation to run the business for us. This is the first part in a new challenge to grow a fresh AI artwork Etsy business to $10,000 and document the entire thing. By the end, I plan to have a shop that's competing with top sellers like Antique White Art, who have done an estimated $150,000 in just a year and a half. In this video, we'll be covering my first week, where I've set up the entire shop, created and posted listings, and already made my first sale. I followed a process to go from nothing to over 100 listings in my shop in only 4 days. If you want to learn how, stay tuned as I walk through everything I did to get this brand new shop up and running. But before we get into the setup, we need to talk about the product we will be selling for this challenge. Let's explore our options. It's 2024 and a majority of sellers on Etsy are following the print-on-demand or dropshipping model, which, don't get me wrong, can definitely make you very successful. But it comes with a lot of friction at different points in the business. Let me show you what I mean. If we chose dropshipping, we'd face lower profit margins, around 30% max, shipping costs, which are paid by us or by our customers, time delay in the form of 3 to 7 day shipping, and finally, no control over delivery, meaning lost packages or damaged goods could force us to refund, costing us big. If you're like me, I try to minimize risk as much as possible, so that is why for this challenge, I'm choosing digital products for my shop. These products are much more beginner friendly and give us way more control over the business. Some of my favorite advantages of digital products include the nearly 100% profit margin before Etsy fees, non-existent shipping costs, instant delivery, and the infinite scalability. We create it once and it can sell over and over, generating truly passive income. When I first got into Etsy, I actually tried dropshipping with print on demand. I was selling t-shirts, and don't get me wrong, I loved making the designs. But I quickly realized that managing a physical product came with way more headaches than I wanted. As a programmer, I saw the potential to automate things way more effectively with digital products, so I made the switch, and that's what I'm focusing on for this challenge. Now that I have the type of product selected, let's get into the first step for getting my shop off the ground. If you haven't guessed it already, the specific digital products I will be selling are digital prints in the form of printable wall art. But here's the best part. We can make these designs in seconds for almost no cost using AI. But before we get into the AI, I had to do a couple housekeeping items to get my shop set up. And that started with setting up my accounts. I started by creating a brand new Google account, mainly to have a dedicated Gmail just for the shop. Then came the Etsy account. I headed over to Etsy.com, clicked register, and used my new Gmail and a password to set it up. Simple enough, but just creating the account doesn't make me an Etsy seller yet. I had to click on my profile and select Sell on Etsy, which walked me through a few more steps to officially open my shop. Eventually, I hit the screen that asks for a shop name. At this point, I could have brainstormed a name myself, but why do that when I could get endless ideas from ChatGPT? I asked the AI for some trendy shop name suggestions for digital art, and boom, I had a ton of options. As a side note, in order to maintain the integrity of this challenge, I won't be revealing the shop name to you guys until we reach the end. However, I'm making these videos as detailed as possible. I plan to give away all the secrets, from strategies to pro tips to the automation. And for this challenge, I'll be sharing all my stats, from conversion rate to visits to revenue, at the very end. But for now, let's get back to the challenge. Once I picked the perfect name, Etsy required me to upload my first listing before I could officially open the shop. I simply created a temporary placeholder listing. Nothing fancy, I filled out the form, threw in a temporary product image, set the price at $50, and listed the quantity as $999. You can find a placeholder image on Google, but I'll include a link to the one I used in the description. Then came the most important part, setting up payments. For now, I went with the individual seller option, filled in my info, connected my bank account, and hit save. If we're starting as an individual, this is totally fine and works perfectly. But if we do have an LLC or want to go that route later, Etsy gives us the flexibility to switch our account settings at any time. So no pressure on that decision right now. Finally, there was one last hurdle, the new $19 shop setup fee. Etsy rolled this out earlier this year, and while it's a little annoying, I actually think it's a good thing. It weeds out scammers and bots, which means less competition for legit sellers like us. Plus, considering how much people make on Etsy, like the 400,000 sales of North Prints in the last 4 years, $19 could simply be considered the cost of entry. With that done, my Etsy shop was officially live. If you're following along, congrats. You made it this far, give yourself a pat on the back, and maybe hit the like button if you're getting value from this. But don't go anywhere yet. The best parts are still to come. Now, this is where things start to get really exciting. Creating the actual art designs for the shop. For this step, we will be diving into the flagship of AI art design that just celebrated its 2nd birthday, Midjourney. Before getting into Midjourney though, I needed to set up 2 more accounts. First, we will need a Discord account. So I headed over to discord.com and created a new account using my Gmail. Once that was done, I was ready to set up Midjourney. In addition to generating breathtaking art, Midjourney even makes signing up easy. I just went to midjourney.com, clicked sign up, and in one click, linked it with my Discord account. After selecting the basic Midjourney plan, which gives me plenty of art generations for just $10 a month, I was ready to jump in. Now, the real magic happens in Discord. Once I've connected to Midjourney, I can simply start a conversation with the Midjourney bot. Now it's time for a crash course into Midjourney 101. First, creating a design. Generating images is as simple as typing /imagine, followed by whatever prompt we want. For this shop, I'm focused on making designs that sell, which means sticking to themes that are popular with buyers. Things like nature scenes and seasonal landscapes. Since it's autumn right now, I started with a prompt for an autumn landscape. /imagine an oil painting of an autumn landscape filled with trees and wildflowers. --AR 4x5. The --AR command is another Midjourney keyword. It's used to control aspect ratios for the images. For my shop, I'm sticking with 2 main aspect ratios that I'll be selling. 4x5 for vertical prints and 5x4 for horizontal prints, because they're versatile, easy to frame, and perfect for digital art. It's not a hard rule, but I like to keep things simple and consistent, especially when it comes to print sizes. Within seconds, Midjourney generates 4 unique designs based on my prompt. And here's the fun part. If I liked the direction of one but wanted to tweak it, I could hit V for vary under that specific image. This gives me 4 new versions based on that design, letting me fine-tune it until I get exactly what I'm looking for. There are a ton of other Midjourney tools and tips, like hitting the reroll button to generate new images, using vary region, or different styles of prompting, which I'll cover in an upcoming video. So be on the lookout for that. But for now, we'll simply decide on our favorite design and hit upscale to make it larger and improve the quality. But there's an extra step here. After the initial upscale, I'll need to click upscale subtle to blow the image up even more without losing detail. This final step ensures that the artwork is large enough and crisp enough for printing. With my design fully upscaled, I clicked to open the image in my browser, right-clicked, and saved it to a folder. From there, all that was left to do was to give it a simple name. I keep it easy by starting with V for vertical or H for horizontal, followed by a short description of the subject. And just like that, I had my first digital design, created entirely with AI. Now, it's time to turn our breathtaking digital art into the deliverables our customers will print out and frame. As I said earlier, for my shop, I stick with 2 main aspect ratios. 4x5 for vertical prints and 5x4 for horizontal prints. I'll display the exact pixel dimensions I use for all the cropped sizes on the screen now. This is a crucial part of the process, and while I've automated this step for myself, I think it's valuable to walk through how we can do it manually. If you stay until the end of the video, I'll share more about how I've automated this specific workflow and how I have that script readily available for anyone to use. But for now, let's break down the manual process. To crop the files, we can use a program like Photoshop or Photopea, which is a free and browser-based alternative. All I need to do is open the file in my favorite program, then crop the file to one of the 5 aspect ratios, so 2x3 for example. Once I do that, I can then upscale the image to the sizes I just mentioned, and that file is done. We just need to repeat that for the other 4 sizes, and we're good to go. Then we just need to make sure to give them clear file names and save them somewhere organized and easy to find. Again, this seems a little cumbersome and tedious, but don't worry, this will be the last time we'll ever have to do this step manually. With that done, we're ready to move to the final step to get our listing ready for sale, the mockups. Now, when it comes to frame mockups, there are countless options out there. We could create our own from scratch using Midjourney, or browse websites like FreePic or Placeit, which have tons of pre-made mockups that allow us to paste in our artwork. Personally, I like to look for the best mockups on Etsy itself. Many of them are Photoshop ready and designed specifically for digital art sellers. When picking a mockup, it's important to find one that matches the aspect ratios we're using. So make sure it specifically lists a 4x5 ratio, or specific sizes in inches like 8x10 inches, which is also a 4x5 ratio. Once I find a handful of mockups with the right dimensions and a .psd file included, I can download them and open them up in Photoshop. The process is pretty simple from there. I open the .psd file, double-click on the smart object layer, and drag my artwork into that layer. Then I hit save, and just like that, the mockup displays my new art piece in the frame. I just need to rinse and repeat for the few other mockups, and this process is completely done. Once the files and mockups were ready, it was time to create the actual listing in my Etsy shop. I went over to the shop dashboard and hit create a listing. From there, I uploaded the cropped digital files we made earlier, along with the mockups that showcase our artwork in frames. When it comes to pricing, I like to keep things simple and consistent. Personally, I price my digital prints at $4.20, and I always run a 50% discount, which brings the final price down to $2.10. It's always a good idea to have a sale running. This way, the item looks like a good deal to potential buyers. I also set the quantity to 999 because why limit it when it's a digital product that can sell endlessly? Next, we need to fill in two key fields, the title and the tags. This brings us to another mini crash course, SEO 101, which stands for Search Engine Optimization. For SEO inspiration, I like to check out some of the top-selling shops in my niche, like North Prints, Antique White Art, and Lexington Prints. Looking at their listings can help us get a sense of what titles work well. I could try crafting my own title to follow their style, or we can make things even easier by feeding the artwork and related info into ChatGPT. I like to give the AI a few examples of my favorite titles that are selling exceptionally well, and then let it generate a new title based on those. Here's another tip I've picked up: indexing the listings. This means adding a number at the end of each title, like 1 for the first listing, 2 for the second, and so on. It's something the big shops do, and it makes managing listings down the line a million times easier. So for my first listing, I'll come up with a strong title and add a 1 at the end. Now, the finishing touch, adding the tags. If you scroll to the bottom of any successful Etsy listing, you can usually see what tags the seller used. Not all of the related searches you see map directly to the tags, but it gives us a good starting point. Etsy allows us 13 tags, each with a 20-character limit, so I like to distill down these related search terms into a mix of relevant keywords. We can always ask ChatGPT here too. For example, I can just take a screenshot of some of the best sellers and generate 13 unique tags based on those winners. Once I've got my 13 tags, I can paste them into the listing, separated by commas, and that's it. The first listing is officially done. All that's left is to hit publish, pay the 20-cent listing fee, and celebrate taking our first step into building a brand new digital products business. If you've made it this far, feel free to give yourself another pat on the back. So, for the first week of this challenge, I created around 100 listings and posted them to my shop. Now I know that might sound overwhelming, especially after seeing all these steps involved, but here's the key. I've automated the entire process. This automation is what gives me a real edge. Instead of spending hours manually cropping, resizing, and creating mockups, so everything we just did manually, I've built a system that turns all of that into a one-click operation. This level of efficiency is a complete game changer. Because I can automate time-consuming tasks like these, it frees me up to focus on the creative and strategic parts of my business. And that's what gives me a cutting edge over other sellers who are stuck doing everything manually. With the power of automation, I can scale my shop quickly and efficiently without burning out from repetitive tasks. Let me walk you through how it works. For that cropping and mockup step through Photoshop, I've developed a script that handles everything. All I have to do is drop my Midjourney designs into one folder, gather my favorite mockups into another, and hit run. The script does the rest. It takes the design, applies the mockups, crops the images into those 5 perfect sizes, and neatly organizes all of that output into one folder. It even ensures that none of the files exceed Etsy's 20 megabyte limit. I set up my files, run the script, and walk away. And by the time I come back to my computer, all that tedious hard work is done. This automation doesn't just save time, it allows me to optimize my workflow and get hundreds, or in the case of my other shop, thousands of listings up in no time. The ability to automate these steps gives me a massive advantage, and I plan to share that with you. If you're interested, check out the link in the description to download it and start using it for your own shop. But don't worry if you see it and get overwhelmed. I'll be creating a follow-up video to walk you through exactly how to set it up, step by step. So with the automation working its magic, I was able to streamline what would have taken days into just a few efficient hours. But no matter how powerful the tech is, There's something special about that moment when you see the results of the effort come to life. Let me take you through how the first week played out. I spent only 4 days of the week actually working on the shop, with about 1 to 2 hours each day on it. On day 1, I set up all my accounts: Etsy, Gmail, Midjourney, and Discord, and I got the shop ready. On day 2, I dove into creating art with Midjourney, exploring styles and what the AI could generate for this new shop. Day 3 was dedicated to designing more pieces, and on day 4, I spent some time creating titles, writing tags, and getting everything prepped for the shop. By the end of day 4, I uploaded all 100 listings, feeling excited but unsure about what would happen next. And then, later that same evening, I got a notification and looked at my phone in total surprise. One order for $2.10. Less than a day after posting, I had received my first sale. It might seem small, but in that moment, it was everything. Seeing that notification pop up, knowing that a complete stranger had discovered my shop and bought something, was a reminder of the potential ahead. It was proof that the system works. By the end of the first week, I had 22 visits, a 4.5% conversion rate, and $2.10 in revenue. Sure, it's a small start, but every business begins with that first sale, that first spark of validation. Looking forward to the weeks ahead, I'll be diving back into creating more designs and fine-tuning the other aspects of my shop, like my logo, banner, and brand. If you're interested in seeing how this challenge unfolds, or if you want to learn more about how I'm using automation and AI to scale this shop, make sure to subscribe and stay tuned for part 2 of the $10,000 challenge. I'll be sharing why this shop has the potential to outshine all my others.